Well, the MCU Secret Invasion is wrapped up, and well, I want to say I'm disappointed, but like, I'm not, because I never really had my hopes too high to begin with. The MCU shows, at least in my opinion, haven't been anything higher than like a 7 out of 10 to me, with those shows being Loki, Moon Knight, and What If. And even though all three of those shows have a good amount of problems, I still enjoyed them. And the shows that I consider the best from the MCU are probably going to be differing opinions from the person watching this video, I guess. But I at least know most people don't really consider any of the MCU shows anything great. If you personally consider any of the shows great, that's perfectly fine, just me personally, nah. But Secret Invasion was one of the MCU shows that I actually believed could have been great. And after watching the first episode, I actually kind of raised my expectations because I was like, okay, maybe this could be a little something. I thought they handled the tone of the show really well. There wasn't any unnecessary humor or out of place humor. It set up a sense of stakes, and they subverted our expectations after Maria Hill died. But I kind of feel like that's how all MCU shows start. They mostly start off really good or really solid, and then progressively get worse.
You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
But let me start off going through the show episode by episode and listing out the problems I had. I'm not going to go into every little detail or every little issue that I had with the show. I'm just going to kind of go in and just point out a lot of the shit that I thought was pretty stupid. Alright, so I kind of already told y'all the things that I really liked about episode 1, but there's a few more things that I actually liked about this episode, and pretty much everything in this episode sets up and touches upon what I liked about the series. I really liked the exploration of Nick Fury as a character. This episode did a great job of setting up Nick Fury's internal conflict and how the snap has affected him. He cut himself off from the world due to feeling as though he's failed, and because of this, he just wanted to retire from the fight. I've seen people complaining about how Nick Fury is too emotional at times in this show. I don't really get it. I honestly like seeing a different side to Nick Fury, but that's not to say there aren't any issues with him in this show, because there are definitely issues. But I also really like Talos in this show and how he's struggling with his species' probable downfall. His daughter is working for the Skrulls and his wife just died. I also really like this conversation that Maria Hill has with Fury.
You were never the same after the blip. You always told me there is no shame in walking away when the steps are uncertain. So check your footing. Otherwise, someone's gonna get hurt.
But my positives pretty much end there. They introduce us to this lady who is kind of just there. I think the actress did a good job. She was pretty charismatic, but I swear this character was just there as a setup for a character in like a future Marvel project or something. And we kind of see that at the end with her and Gaia. I just didn't care for her as a character at all. But speaking of Gaia, I take issue with how she's portrayed in the first episode, as it makes no fucking sense. She turns back to her father's side and becomes a spy inside the Skrull operation. But the thing that makes her come back to her father's side is the fact that he tells her they killed her mom. What? Now, I can understand if it was like executed differently, how someone's mom being killed, yada yada yada, could make someone change. That's not what I mean though. What I mean is she was fully willing to go along with the Skrull rebel plan of taking over the world before this scene with her father. So how the fuck is your mother being killed the only reason you came back to your father's side? She was completely fine with the humans killing each other and being responsible for World War III starting. It's like, how does this show expect us to be sympathetic for that? And this also kind of stems into a problem I have with this whole show. We've obviously been shown that Skrulls have empathy, so I have a hard time understanding how the fuck Gravik thinks every Skrull will just be okay with him doing this. They also rarely ever utilize any sense of tension as to who a Skrull is or isn't. They only really do this with Rhodey, but mostly everyone else is either very obviously a Skrull or just straight up told to us that they're a Skrull. And we're rarely ever on edge because of this. Then we gotta stop to talk about this opening scene because it is just so fucking stupid. So this paranoid government guy has a theory on the Skrulls invading governments around the world, yada yada yada. He even states that he can't trust anyone. So Agent Ross comes in, and this dumb fuck doesn't attempt to check in any way if Ross is a Skrull or not. And of course, he is. So he tells Skrull Ross all the fucking information and gives him undeniable evidence of the Skrull plan. And mind you, Skrull Ross has spent this entire conversation pretty much disagreeing with everything he said and calling him crazy. And this jackass only realizes after telling Skrull Ross everything, and then we get this dumb shit. I swear this scene is how the writing process went down. It's like this dude's the writer, and then by the end of writing this scene, he realizes, wow, I'm a fucking idiot. And then we get into this chase scene, which is just, again, aggressively stupid because this Skrull has a gun. And he knows he's being chased, so instead of attempting to change it to another person, or I don't know, maybe trying to use the gun on the person who would ruin his mission, this jackass says, nah. And then we get to episode 2, and I did like the scene in the beginning that was fleshing out the villains, the main villain's backstory and his history with Nick Fury. Unfortunately, this is about the best this show has to offer with this villain, because he is just aggressively fucking retarded. But we'll get to the villain later. But something that is dumb as fuck about this episode is this whole conversation between Rhodey and Nick Fury. Now, first of all, Nick Fury starts trying to convince Rhodey of helping him out by bringing up the fact that they're both black.
Men who look like us don't get promoted because of who our daddies know. Every ounce of power we wrestle from the vice grip of the mediocre Alexander Pierces who run this world was earned in blood. So let's make the power mean something. Help a brother out.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when the fuck has Nick Fury ever cared about what color he is? As if that means something to this situation or a situation like this. This shit just feels so out of place and awkward. This would be like, let's say in Winter Soldier, let's say Captain America didn't want to help Nick Fury. This would be like if Nick Fury tried to convince him to help and he was like, so, Cap. Slavery. You owe me. Like. And then the other thing about this scene is the excuse as to why the Avengers can't help.
Maybe we should call our friends.
No. We can't jump the gun on that. You know, we get them in a fight with the Skrulls, and next thing you know, they find themselves duplicated and turned into terrorists.
I'm sorry, please tell me I'm not the only one that thinks this is the dumbest shit in the world. First of all, if the Skrulls have invaded the world, as Nick Fury knows, they could just find one of the Avengers and do that anyway. Or better yet, they could just do this. Like, who the fuck wrote this sorry-ass excuse for this shitty world building? Not only that, but it assassinates Nick Fury as a character. This man knows what the Skrulls want is world-threatening. So of course Nick Fury, of all people, is gonna want to call the Avengers. And remember earlier when I said the Skrulls have empathy and they won't just be all okay with, like, wiping out the human race? Well, we get that right in this episode, as there are 2 people in this room that aren't okay with Gravik's plan. One of them even gets fucking karate chopped in the throat for using any sense of logic. So again, if only 2 out of 5 people in this room take issue with Gravik's plan, how the hell does he expect the entire rest of the other millions to just be on board with this? But wait, it gets even stupider. So the Russian government have taken the Skrull to torture him for information. There are so many issues with this one scene alone. Number 1. Why in the fuck out of all the places to torture someone are they doing it in some random fucking meat store? Why not do this in some secure government warehouse? Number 2. This fucking guy says,
I've thrown everything at him and he hasn't said a word. What makes you think you can get him to speak?
What do you mean you threw everything at him? He looks like he just got out of a fucking school fight. A little scruffle because someone took the last orange juice cup. And then this lady comes in and instantly cuts off his finger. At least someone here has a fucking brain. And then the third problem is the Skrulls are easily capable of easily breaking steel chains and they have super strength. This Skrull even says,
I'm gonna break these chains, and then I'm gonna break every bone in your body.
Then makes literally zero attempt to break out of the chains at first. He allows her to cut off his finger, then inject him with a needle. And mind you, this Skrull is being pumped with adrenaline due to how much pain he's in. And the Skrull still can't break out of these chains for whatever reason. Even though we've literally seen that Skrulls are fucking strong as shit. And then the fourth problem is, this lady can easily get proof right here of the Skrull's existence, since she also wants to stop the Skrulls. So why doesn't she tell the government about the proof of their existence using this, as well as their plan? This is such an easy opportunity to prove the existence of the Skrulls, and she legitimately does nothing with it. And then the fifth problem with this scene. Gravik doesn't care about this Skrull getting captured because they're just gonna rescue him later. But this is stupid because he kills this dude later in the episode because he believes this guy is lying for not revealing information. If he didn't want this guy revealing any information, then why even give him any information to reveal in the first place? And the reason Gravik allowed this guy to get caught was because they were trying to make it seem like an American did this. But if this guy gets harmed brutally as we see, they can figure out that he's not even a fucking human. It's like, my god. I'm gonna move on to the next episode to not make this video 2 hours long, even though there's some other shit that I could talk about. And now we get to episode 3, and my main issue with this episode is this scene between Talos and Gravik. Gravik literally doesn't even give a fuck if Talos lives or dies, and Talos even threatens to ruin Gravik's whole plan, and Talos just stabs him in the hand because Gravik mentioned his daughter. So why does Gravik not just kill Talos right here? I first thought, well, maybe he doesn't want Gaia to get mad or leave his side. But then that raises another issue that I probably should have mentioned earlier. Why does Gravik have his right-hand man, or in this case, right-hand girl? Why does he have Gaia at his side for all of this if she can just be swayed to turn against him? Why would he not just choose someone else? And in this same episode, Gaia is the reason his plan to nuke someplace fails, and he kills Gaia. Like, this episode also gives us more of a look at Nick Fury's Skrull wife, and I'm sorry, but this shit was just so ass. I could not give less of a fuck about Nick Fury's wife, nor do I know why it was even necessary to have her here. It feels like she could have been left out entirely, and Nick Fury could have still gotten his stuff with his character arc and his internal conflict, while not needing these unnecessary moments with his wife. Instead, they could have just pushed the plot forward, or better yet, not made this a fucking TV show, and it could have just been a movie, because this TV show apparently is only 3 hours and 40 minutes of runtime. But the moments with Nick Fury's wife mostly serve to get a look into Nick Fury's internal conflict, but we've already been seeing this like throughout the whole show without even her being there. And then by the end of the episode, we see that his wife, fucking hell, I don't even remember her name, hold on. Vara, we see that Vara is close with Gravik, and they rely on her to kill Nick Fury. Again, just like with Gaia, why does Gravik have people that he can't fully rely on that are close to someone who is against them? Why is Vara the one who is in charge of killing Nick Fury? But this gets even stupider with the next 2 episodes. Now we get to episodes 4 and 5. Now, remember when I was just talking about how Garrick shouldn't be relying on Vara to kill Fury because she's close with Fury? Well, at the end of this episode, one of the Skrulls brings this up to him. I suppose this moment was supposed to be one of those answering of that question moments, but it's not.
You ordered Fury's death when you knew Vara would never do it. You had another chance to kill Fury today, and you didn't take it.
Because he has what we need.
You told me Fury hid the Avengers DNA, but it wasn't in any of the locations you provided. Now, Fury never trusted you, and it makes me start to wonder, why should we?
How did the writers not realize how fucking dumb this is? And staying in the same scene, Garrick kills one of the Skrulls and then sends the other Skrulls to kill Vara, as I've shown. And now I raise the question that the other Skrulls are going to take issue with Garrick killing their own people. And we get this later in the episode of the Skrulls trying to kill Garrick. And this is another example of the writers thinking they're smarter than they actually are. Because if just these many Skrulls turned on him in this compound for killing someone just for raising questions, then imagine how a lot of the other Skrulls would react to this. Not exactly smart when you need a shit ton of Skrulls to try and take on the planet, in which they're already massively outnumbered. And then let's also remember that not all the Skrulls are just gonna be okay with Garrick wiping out humanity already, so Garrick has even more of his own people going against him. And then it's just fucking hilarious how the way they try to kill Garrick, the man they know has superpowers, they try to kill him by strangling him with a fucking plastic bag. And then also, Garrick leaves his entire plan for dealing with the Avengers based on Nick Fury's word that the harvest is located somewhere. So he was going to try and have Vara kill Fury before even having his hands on the only thing that would even make his plan work in the first place. And when he knows that Fury lied to him about the location, he still doesn't, I don't know, maybe take Fury and read his memories like they do for every other human. And this stems me into this same action sequence because this shit is just so dumb. So Garrick wanted the president dead, and he could also take Nick Fury to read his mind back at the Skrull base. Now, this first guy has not a care in the world if Talos lives or die, yet this happens. This jackass shoots him one time and then just says, nah, I'm done. And also, Garrick wants the president dead and could have easily killed him right here, yet he doesn't. And it's so dumb that Garrick, the Skrull who already has super strength, shape-shifting, and a healing factor, and is also being backed up by a group of people, some of which are probably, or some if not all, are actually probably all Skrulls, and yet for some dumbass reason, they can't handle this situation quickly. So not only does Garrick not take Nick Fury when he could easily read his mind, but he also doesn't kill the president when he easily could have. And then we get this scene.
I won't let her betray Gravik. Let us go, or I'll kill her.
Oh, I don't doubt you for a moment. The males in my species are very similar. If they're not busy gaslighting you, they're threatening you with murder. That's what all the podcasts are about.
Yeah, Marvel, really shitting on toxic masculinity. You sure showed them. And then at the end of episode 5, we get another dumbass excuse as to why the Avengers can't help.
Fury, why haven't you called any of your special friends down?
This is
personal. We can't keep depending on these superheroes to swoop in and save our asses. None of them have lived the life I have. None of them can defend the world the way I can.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm just gonna trust the viewer of this video to understand how fucking dumb that is, and I don't even think I need to get into that. Now we get to the season finale, and people have already been shitting on this from what I've seen, and you probably have seen it too, but I'll just go over a couple things about this that I think is very stupid. The first thing, and this doesn't just go for the season finale, but like as the show as a whole, you're telling me that of all the planets in the universe, Captain Marvel couldn't find a single planet for the Skrulls to live on. The fact that the Skrulls don't have a planet by now is so unbelievably contrived, it's insane. Why can't they go live on the planet that Thanos went to in Endgame? The second thing is Nick Fury's stupid ass risks Garrick becoming the most powerful super being on the planet, and probably one of the most powerful people in the universe. He bets that in a fight with Gaia. Are you serious? Instead of, I don't know, maybe getting the Avengers or someone to deal with this bullshit before Garrick becomes this all-powerful being. And then the third thing is, how the fuck does Garrick not question Nick Fury of all people for just so easily handing him over the Harvest DNA? Why does he not check to see if Fury is a Skrull or not? The fourth thing is, now that Gaia is one of the most powerful people in the universe, where the fuck are they gonna take her character? It seems like they're setting her up for something, but if she can't even stop Kang, like if she's in Secret Wars or something, then if she can't stop him, then who the fuck can? I don't even know. I guess they can probably like retcon it, or I don't even know if it would technically be a retcon. I guess they can just be like, oh, well, she's not as powerful as all these other people, even though it looks like that's what they're implying by this season finale. I don't know. I just don't care. You know what? On that note, I'm done asking questions. I'm just gonna keep consuming product. This show is a 10 out of 10. Another amazing MCU Disney Plus show. Keep the bangers coming, Marvel. But on a serious note, I want to give a shout out to all my Patreons. If you want to support me on Patreon, I would really appreciate it. It's only $2 a month. Let me know what y'all thought of the show. Personally, I'd probably give it like a 4, if not 5 out of 10. I feel like I'm being generous, but let me know if I missed some criticisms that you guys have. Let me know if you disagree with some things I said, yada yada yada. I thank you all for watching, and yeah.